Hey guys! Welcome to my channel, Miss Recap. The story begins as we see a professor hard at work when he is visited by a representative from a pharmaceutical company. The man points out how the professor seems to be overworking himself, but it is undeniable that his research is world-class and many patients will be saved thanks to him developing new medicine. We are then shown what drives the professor when he has a memory of his young sister. He had to watch as the doctors gave up on her after determining her illness was incurable. Since then, the professor has dedicated his entire life to inventing new medicines, hardly allowing himself to sleep and relying heavily on snacks and energy drinks to keep himself going. After finishing up some work, the professor would write a note on his wrist and allow himself a 46-minute rest. It has been a while since he actually interacted with a patient and dreams of the day he might be able to become a town pharmacist. However, his assistant would return the next day to find that he had passed away. The professor would then wake up to find a girl by his side who explains that he had been struck by lightning. The professor instantly notices his voice has changed and his heart begins to race as he begins to realize what has happened. The girl would then reveal that his name is actually Farma de Medicis. Farma doesn't remember too much but realizes that he must have passed on from his previous life due to overworking himself. The girl introduces herself as Charlotte and notices strange markings on Farma's body. She believes it to be a holy mark, but he explains that it must just be a burn from the lightning. Charlotte is confident though that it must have been Panactios, the god of medicine, protecting him. She is concerned to see that he has forgotten basic knowledge of the world and agrees to help him remember. Farma is a member of the great Medicis family that is filled with royal pharmacists. His father Bruno is a man of outstanding skill and serves as the president of the Imperial School of Pharmacy. Farma's mother is named Beatrice and his sister is Blanche. He also has an older brother named Paule, but he is currently studying abroad at the most prestigious school of medicine in the world. Charlotte then explains the divine arts, which are feats that are believed to be works of the gods. It's pretty much just magic, and Charlotte becomes worried when it seems like Farma has forgotten all about it. The ability to use divine arts is the mark of nobility, and if he isn't able to remember how to do it, she fears he will no longer be recognized as a noble, and be driven out of the estate. Later, Farma remembers how she had told him that he is able to use the divine art of water, and must create a mental image of the form of water to use it. He gives it a try by imagining water's molecular structure, and finds that his markings begin to glow. Farma panics as water begins to flow uncontrollably from his hands and aims it outside. After begging for it to stop, it finally does, and he sees that Charlotte was soaked by it. She's glad to see that he remembers how to use the divine arts and doesn't mind getting wet since he watered the garden for her. Farma is surprised at how easy that was and decides to try making other things. He finds that he is able to produce simple substances and compounds like gold and sodium chloride, but not mixtures. His left hand has the ability to create substances while his right eliminates them. Charlotte arrives to celebrate but realizes that he must have forgotten all his medicinal knowledge as well. This is especially concerning since his father often springs surprise quizzes on medicine during meals. Charlotte brings him to their library and explains that he receives special education in pharmacology from childhood. Farma is then surprised to find that he is able to understand and remember everything from the teachings. He then joins his family for dinner as they all express relief to see that he has recovered. Farma can't help but be sympathetic knowing that this family had lost their real son and decides he must live on as Farma for everyone's sake. As predicted, Bruno tests his knowledge of the medicine used to help him recover, and Farma passes easily. His father is pleased and instructs him to resume his lessons the next day. When he does, Farma meets his tutor, Eleanor, who notices something is off. He is not calm or charming like he usually is, but she backs off when Farma says his memory's just fuzzy since being hit by lightning. That being the case, she decides they will review the basics of divine arts. Those with the aptitude for divine arts each have a guardian deity. For him and his father, that is Panactios, but for her, it is Hydrotheus. There are 5 attributes of divine arts, which are fire, water, air, earth, and none. There are also positive and negative attributes for each. Farma wonders about the none attribute, but not much is known about it, and it hasn't been seen in 300 years. He then wonders what someone with the ability to create any substance would be, and she simply says it's impossible. Anyone like that would be considered a god or a demon. Afterwards, Eleanor can't believe that Farma forgot to bring his divine wand that is used to amplify and control the arts, so she allows him to borrow hers. She wants him to launch a spear of water, but he doesn't remember how, so she gives him a demonstration. After that, she reminds him to say the incantation out loud, and Farma prepares to make his first attempt. To their surprise, Farma manages to unleash an extremely powerful burst of water that sends Eleanor flying, and leaves them both in shock. She can't comprehend how he was able to use such power even without an incantation. She becomes concerned when she explains that the total divine power a person can use in their life is fixed, and he may have just used all of his. She uses a meter to test how much he has left, but becomes terrified when it breaks. Eleanor explains that it was a colorless capacity break, and showed both positive and negative attributes. She can't even explain exactly what it means since no one has ever exceeded the meter before. Farma tries to explain that the markings on his arms are just burns, but she realizes that they are actually holy markings of Panactios. She explains that he can never grasp another meter again and needs to keep it all a secret from everyone. Afterwards, Farma helps guide her as she lost her glasses and notices she is trembling, but she blames it on her lack of vision. He would then teach her a trick to help with their vision, to find that he is able to detect that she has a sprained finger. Farma notices that medical issues glow blue, and when he identifies the cause, the color changes to white. She is once again surprised and explains that Panactios perceives all illness and grants medicine. Farma seems to possess Panactios' divine eye, and Eleanor is petrified now since that power is not human. What is even more horrifying though is that she notices he has no shadow. This sends her over the edge as she promises not to tell anyone, and she runs for her life. Later, Farma's father requests that he take some medicine to Eleanor, who told him that she is sick and has decided to quit tutoring altogether. Farma pretends not to know why and agrees to do it. He would then determine that the medicine won't do much for a fever and make some of his own. When visiting her home, Eleanor begins to fear that he is there to eliminate her for knowing his secret. Farma explains that he is delivering potions sent by his father, but she thinks he might be trying to poison her. He has also brought the medicine he made and ointment for her jammed finger, but she thinks those might be poison too. Farma explains that he would never harm her, and he still wants her to tutor him. She states that he doesn't need to learn anything, since he is clearly an incarnation of Panactios, but Farma is pretty certain he is still human. She pledges to keep all his secrets for him, but asks that he spare her wretched life in return. Farma explains that he actually can't control his abilities yet, and would like her to continue teaching him since there is no literature on the divine arts. However, it seems she has already made up her mind, so he apologizes for scaring her, and thanks her for everything she has done for him. Later, she would debate taking the medicine he gave her. The god Panactios had been known for being kind, so she decides to trust him. They meet soon after, and Eleanor explains that she must still protect herself since training someone like him could be dangerous. Farma is thankful, but she explains that she didn't have a choice, since she would feel responsible if he were to lose control of his immense powers. In fact, she is the one that is thankful since his medicine worked even better than that of his father's. The two then head to an uninhabited island where Farma could learn more divine arts without worrying about his secret being discovered. Control doesn't come very easily for him, but the two are optimistic that it will come with time. Later, Farma would use his divine eye to see and determine illnesses of the staff, resulting in a blue to white color change. While practicing this, he finds that the light disappears if he can determine that a full recovery is possible. But if it's not, then a dull light remains. Farma thinks for a moment about how if his abilities along with his lack of shadow are discovered, then he will likely be arrested and in the worst case, executed. He formulates a plan to get people on his side to help prevent that scenario. As long as he knows the substance's composition, he can create it in any form. Farma uses this ability along with his pharmaceutical knowledge to produce several treatments for the staff. The first recipient is Charlotte, who he gives cream to help with her hands drying from all the physical labor. She would like to share with the rest of the staff, but he explains that he plans to make some for everyone. He would then go on to give everyone their own specialized medicine for their individual ailments. They are all very grateful, some even to the point of crying, and Charlotte explains that it's because they have never received medicine from their bosses before. She explains that patients are typically selected based on social status. Farma despises that, but Charlotte explains that the servants wouldn't be able to afford the medicine anyway. This only irritates Farma more, and he begins to think how he can provide more effective medicine that is readily available to everyone. Charlotte recognizes his efforts and determines that he will become a great pharmacist one day. Later, Farma meets with his parents, who reveal that his little sister has come down with chickenpox, and only a select few servants will be allowed near her to keep the disease from spreading. Bruno reminds Farma that he had the chickenpox years ago, but should still stay away since in rare cases, reinfection is still possible. Farma is amazed that Bruno knows this, considering that fact was only discovered recently on Earth. Bruno must attend a meeting, but Farma notices a cough as he leaves. Farma's amazing intelligence and abilities are on full display as he makes medication for chickenpox. He then goes to see Blanche, who is worried he will get in trouble, but he explains it's fine since he snuck in. She doesn't want to take the bitter and yucky medicine, but he states that the medicine he made can actually be taken along with the delicious snack. Blanche then becomes skeptical as their father said there was no medicine for the chickenpox. He explains that he simply found it in a book and perhaps their father had forgotten about it. Farma says that he might feel bad if he found out, so they should keep it a secret. Blanche then reveals that he is much different now since he never used to spend time with her before. It is a bit strange to her, but she admits that she loves her new brother, and Farma can't help but be reminded of his other sister. Bruno would later return to find that Blanche has recovered quickly, and she explains that it's because of a secret. When he is alone, Farma thinks about all his abilities, including a new one that allows him to magnify things using his right hand over his eye. He begins to wonder if he can really keep using them all at no cost to himself. He finishes up making a microscope when he is called to see his father. Bruno explains that they must leave immediately as they have an emergency house call to see the Empress. Farma is concerned about Bruno's cough but is interrupted before he can analyze it. They arrive to find that Empress Elizabeth is in critical condition. Farma assists his father as he attempts to determine her ailment and is amazed at how different the procedure is compared to his world. Farma is later surprised to overhear them say that her destiny is near its end because the stars are in horrible state. Bruno will still continue to treat her the best he can, but Farma is able to smell the ingredients he is using to determine he has created an anesthesia potion. Elizabeth wants him to be honest and tell her if she is beyond saving, but he says that is not the case. He states that the medicine he has made is powerful enough to help, but Farma knows it isn't. It's clear that Bruno is just trying to lessen her suffering, and others call to have a priest come the next day. Farma is shocked to see that everyone has given up and decides that he can no longer just stand by. He uses his divine eye to find that she has lung cancer, bronchitis, and tuberculosis. The solution will not be simple, and he is limited by the equipment available in this world. Time is running out, and he realizes that he will only have one chance to help her. The pressure builds, and Farma finally gets to feel what it's like to deal directly with the patient. Just then, the Empress's son rushes in and is distraught to find his mother in such terrible condition. Farma decides it's finally time to act. He requests permission to treat Elizabeth and reveals that there is a new medicine for her illness. Bruno thinks he is playing a cruel trick, but the Empress wants to hear him out. Farma explains that he thinks he has determined what her illness is, and she decides to trust him. She must tell everyone else to stay silent, as it seems that the young Farma is the only one that has not given up. Elizabeth then gives him permission, and Farma gets to work. He barricades himself inside a room to avoid interruption, and formulates a treatment. Farma determines that he must use 4 different drugs in order to prevent the bacteria from becoming resistant. However, he is interrupted by his father, who reveals that he was able to determine her illness is the White Death, but no one in the world can cure it. Farma is again amazed by Bruno, as he was able to diagnose her without any special abilities like his. Bruno expresses his displeasure since he believes that Farma is only giving the Empress false hope. However, Farma explains that the medicine he speaks of is real, and that he will have to take it as well. Farma continues his work, but is once again interrupted. Bruno wants to know what he is planning, and Farma tries to calm him down, but it's too late. After a brief exchange of divine arts, Bruno is shocked at how Farma didn't use an incantation, and begins to wonder who this boy really is. Bruno finds Farma's journal, and he explains that there are new medicines in there that he dreamed of the day he was struck by lightning. Bruno notices the holy marks on his arm, and is amazed to see that Panactios has granted his son a great blessing. Farma begs that he give the medicine to the Empress, and takes the credit for himself. However, Bruno declines, explaining that the medicine Farma has made is his to give. Furthermore, the Empress has staked her life on Farma's medicine, and in turn, Farma must stake his life in giving it to her. Farma understands and removes the ice he created. Bruno is shocked to see this, as Farma's attribute is positive water. This means that he has always been able to produce it, but should not be able to erase it. He once again questions if he is really his son, and Farma simply replies that he considers himself to be. Farma then arrives to administer the treatment, and the head physician questions if Bruno should stop his son. However, he reveals that he won't, since Farma's skills may have already surpassed theirs. Before Farma begins, he has her look through his microscope to see what she thinks are strange creatures. As everyone else looks, Farma explains that they are extremely small organisms that cause the white death called bacteria. They can cause several diseases, including the one affecting her body. However, if the medicine he is giving her is taken properly for half a year, a full recovery can be expected. This information changes everything they know about disease. She accepts his treatment, and Farma formally stakes his life on it by drinking it himself. He announces to everyone that once the medicine proves to be successful, the disease will have a cure, and they will no longer need to fear the White Death. On their way home, Bruno thinks about how he has focused so much on his patients and neglected his own son. However, despite that, he can tell the boy before him is not the Farma he knew. When they arrive, Farma expresses relief knowing that the Empress had managed to fall asleep, and asks if his father would be willing to take the medicine. Bruno acknowledges that Panactios has blessed Farma and concedes that he himself has a lot to learn. Farma explains that he is mistaken though. He may have had the knowledge required to create the medicine, but he didn't understand the needs of a patient on the verge of death. That is something he learned from Bruno. Farma explains that his acumen is shallow and unrefined. He acknowledges that his father excels in these aspects and asks that they pursue the path of medicine together. His father agrees and gives thanks to his son, as they are welcomed by the rest of their family. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.